Everyone knows you should never take a physicist to a sci-fi movie. The same can be said about a biologist and a creature feature. We can point out how certain things are biologically unlikely or downright impossible, but that would be boring. So rather than pointing out what can't happen, why not ask ourselves, what if it was real? So using my super nerd levels of knowledge about biology, physics, and mythical creatures, my friends and I will explore how different creatures could have actually evolved on our planet and what they potentially would look like. Welcome back to A Real Creature Feature. I am your host, Mac.
I'm Mike.
I'm Dean.
And today we will have our last episode about wyverns and probably the most definitive actual answers because we really have a lot more information that we could use rather than like a theoretical how could something spit out fire or have wings that could produce like keep something up that's really really big. This time we're just going to be talking about their metabolism and stuff like that. So I have a question for you guys. What
Mm-hmm.
do you know about something that's cold-blooded versus warm-blooded?
Well,
Cold-blooded. They have to sit out and sun to get warm. They have to find shade to get to go cool. They can hibernate if it's really cold out.
I, as far as I always know, the idea is, well, because because warm-blooded animals, with their movement, they tend to stay hot, no matter because that's why we don't have a whole lot of we don't tend to get warm-blooded animals larger than elephants because if they did, they'd be so large they would cook themselves
What about
when they move.
whales?
Oh, they live in the water, so they're cooled by the waters.
Which actually is very true.
Yes.
Okay, so this is from a website, www.vedantu.com, biology or /biology/ difference between cold-blooded and warm-blooded. Wanted to cite where I got so this is also basic information, but I still feel bad about like just ripping it from different websites.
No, it's okay. You can source as you need to.
Yeah. So cold-blooded animals. Animals that cannot regulate their internal body temperature according to that of the changing environment. Normally, they find it difficult to survive in extreme conditions. Examples, reptiles and fish. Which is weird that they said extreme conditions because I'm like, you can find reptiles like everywhere. Now you don't find as many in the extremes of like extreme cold, but I'm pretty sure you find a lot of them in extreme heat, like the desert, because we have a lot of
Mhm.
desert animals there too. So I was just like, that's weird. Uh, warm-blooded animals, animals that can regulate and maintain a constant internal temperature of the body. Warm-blooded animals can maintain a constant internal body temperature and survive in any temperature range as they adapt to harsh conditions of any kind of environment. Examples: birds, mammals, and humans. Oh, and mammals including humans, because that would have been a
Uh,
really weird thing to say.
we are special.
We
Don't
are
forget
very,
it.
we
We
are very
aren't
special.
on any family tree.
Yes, we are.
We fell off the tree years ago.
We
Human.
we were a different tree and we cut it down to build our house.
uh, Weird. Okay. So this is actually kind of cool. Just like everything in nature, there is no definitive black and white answer to things. So I'm also going to be going through a bunch of different terms so we can explain some of this because like there is no this is what warm-blooded means. This is what cold-blooded means in the sense of you can have some wiggle room between a couple things. For example, this is a term. This basically means what is more scientific term for warm-blooded is an endotherm, meaning like it produces its own heat as compared to
Endothermic.
endothermic. And then there's also ectothermic, which is cold-blooded, meaning gets it from the outside. There's homothermic and poikilothermic. I'm going to double check that I said that properly.
Poikilotherm.
Poikilotherm.
Yeah. I was just like, that's a lot of syllables.
Thank
Um,
you, sultry lady voice.
yeah. So, and poikilotherm animals describe whether temperature is constant. Okay.
Pokelotherm is also my favorite Pokemon.
Ha! So, homeotherm animals have a constant body temperature regardless of the external influence, and they normally have a high body temperature. Homeotherm animals are endothermic or warm-blooded animals. So yeah, we have a temperature of 98.6. I learned cats have an internal temperature that's higher than ours. It's like in the hundreds, like
Wow.
102, I think. Like it's normal
Is
temperature.
knowing that, is there a max temperature that a warm-blooded animal can reach?
Um, I don't know. I know for us it's like 105, 106,
Nice.
because that's when our DNA actually, or like DNA and a whole bunch of other stuff starts breaking down.
Ooh,
It's really dangerous, but that's like if our internal temperature is that way. But at 112, I guess that's when it starts feeling painful, like in the environment or something.
yeah.
One of the things I was looking at, and like cats can actually get up to like 126
Wow.
for the environment, for and
Okay.
before they start feeling pain. But yeah, that was a different tangent that I was looking at, and I was like, okay, I don't really weird, because I remember something about like cats being one of those like weird in between things, maybe. But I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is a distraction. So,
We
this is from Wikipedia. Poikilotherm is an animal whose internal temperature varies considerably. Poikilotherms have to survive and adapt environmental stress. One of the most important stressors is temperature change, which can lead to alteration of membrane lipid or bleh, alteration in membrane lipid order, and can cause protein unfolding, which that's what I was talking about. Like when stuff gets really, really hot, it just starts literally breaking apart.
yeah.
Denaturation of elevated temperatures. It is the opposite of homeotherm, obviously,
Mhm.
and an animal which maintains thermal homeostasis.
Wow.
While the term in principle can apply to all any the term can apply to all organisms, it is generally applied to animals, mostly vertebrates. Mostly to
Okay.
vertebrates.
Yeah.
Usually fluctuates our variation at ambient temperature. Blah, blah, blah. Many terrestrial exotherms are pelechilic. However, the exotherm, I can't say words, in temperature constant environments to point blah, 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 blah. Okay. Da, da, da. Animals that include a lot of vertebrates. Oh, here's this is why I kept reading it. Poikilothermic animals include types of vertebrate animals, specifically some fish, amphibians, and reptiles, as well as invertebrate animals. The naked mole rat and sloths are some of the rare mammals which are poikilothermic. And that
That
one I thought was really interesting.
I what's up with what makes them so special that they get to be Pokelotherms?
I think it's for naked mole rats, they're basically subterranean anyway,
Yeah.
so that might have something to do with it. And um, sloths live in like the near the equator, so it's a constant temperature generally,
Yeah.
and they have a very slow metabolism. Hmm.
Okay.
Now I want to watch True Facts About the Naked Mole Rat by Z. Frank
Hmm.
because they can live up to 100 years.
Really? I didn't know that.
If I remember the thing correctly.
Google it.
I'm working on it right now.
Yeah, because I'm like that. Whoa, we've never heard of mammals routinely being able to do something like that,
Yeah.
especially tiny animals.
Longevity.
You know.
Naked mole rats. Well, they are. It's not 100 years, but it is extraordinarily long for a rodent. Period. 30. It's up to 32 years,
Okay.
according to.
Wow.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's 100 years equivalent.
Eh,
Maybe. But yeah, that's wow. Because I'm like, gorillas live up to 30.
yeah, yeah. As far
Horses.
as rodents tend to have very short life, tend to have very short uh, lifespans. Period.
I learned this about opossums, that they live like only 5 years,
Aw,
and it's like they. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. Oh, even cooler. Oh, and sadder at the same time. All squid and octopi and cuttlefish, like all the pseudopods,
yeah.
they live only like 5 years.
What?
And I mean,
Aw,
even the giant squid only
wow.
lives 5 years. And it was just like, "What?" But since they don't have bones, obviously they can grow a lot faster. So that probably makes
Yeah.
sense. But it was just like, "Whoa." It was so weird about that.
These these are like the naked mole rat seems like okay, I know we're getting real off topic talking about the naked
It
mole rat,
happens.
but I've learned way more about these things than I was expecting. They're basically like mammalian tardigrades. They're like resistant to a
Yeah.
ton of stuff, like oxygen deprivation and cancers.
I guess that explains why they're, one of the villains in the Fallout series.
Yeah.
Because you get giant mole rats and giant
Yep.
cockroaches.
Oh, and they're also just I hate to say this, but very few cute naked mole rats out there.
That you might get an email about because I know a lot of people think they're adorable.
Oh,
But
you know,
also
yeah, those are the people who watch Kim Possible and haven't actually seen a real one.
yeah. Also, they might be the same people who think a pug's cute.
Okay, I feel so bad for the pug. I don't think the pug is cute, I pity the poor pug.
We've mutated them too bad by interbreed, by
Yeah.
selective breeding them.
Good news though, they're trying to breed that out of them now finally.
Yeah. I
They've had some
saw a bulldog
yep,
Akita mix earlier
yep,
today, and I was like, "Wow, that looks way better."
yeah, it does.
It looks like it can actually breathe.
Yeah. Oh, those
Uh,
poor babies.
oh, this one actually
I
this might be interesting. So, poikilotherm animals
yep,
must be able to function over a wide range of temperatures. uh, a wider range of animal temperatures than homeotherms, which kind of sounds weird since the other thing said that it can't survive large ranges. So it's interesting. The speed of most chemical reactions vary with temperatures, and in order to function, uh, poikilotherms may have 4 to 10 enzymes systems that operate at different temperatures for an important chemical reaction, which is actually is interesting that you would have that's super complicated. As a result, poikilotherms often have a larger, more complex genomes than homeotherms in the same ecological niche.
hmm,
Frogs are a notable example of this effect, though their complex development is also an important factor to their large genome. So yeah, like our genome, we have 46 chromosomes, 23 pairs, and it's actually really kind of cool when you actually look at different animals. Uh, this is actually really neat. So rabbits and hares aren't the same like they're not the same species, but they're also actually very more distantly apart than others than you would think.
oh,
They're not closely related as you would think. That would be the how you would talk
yeah.
if you're a normal person.
Eh,
Yeah. Despite difference between rabbits and hares, animals diverged evolutionarily only 1.5 to 1 million years ago. Oh, oh man, dang it! I really wanted to because it was really kind of cool because like they literally have a different number of chromosomes. No, base. Ah, damn it! No, that's not it.
eh,
Oh well. They have different number of chromosomes.
okay.
And you'd think something that looks so similar, they would have, a similar genetic
Yeah,
background.
that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so next term is heterothermy, or is heterothermy, is a physiological term for animals that can vary between self-regulating their body temperatures and allowing the environment to affect it. Now, this one actually is really neat because this is basically animals that hibernate.
Hmm,
So heterothermic animals are those that can switch between poly and or ploly and homo. They chain. Da. But yeah, basically it's when they need to, they can like go into hibernation mode. So some birds can do this. Ground squirrels, bats, and bears, obvious and bears.
mhm,
Now the cool thing about bears is so there's like a different degrees of hibernation. I know
yeah,
that so, like, if you compare, like, a bat's hibernation to a bear's, they're very different. Like, a bat's hibernation, you can actually kinda, like, pick them up and move them around a little bit
yeah,
because you shouldn't do that because you'd be screwing with them, but they don't really wake up. A bear can wake up,
mhm,
and you don't want a bear woken up when from hibernation sleep too early because then they're extra
yeah.
cranky.
Yeah.
Bears don't have true hibernation.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, they go into more of, like, a deep, like, almost torpor state instead of
yeah,
actual, like, true hibernation.
yeah. It's actually kind of cool. I was
Yeah.
learning about this with other bears, and they're like, so bears, um, what's the word I'm thinking of? Oh, m- lady bears can have babies while hibernating.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, yep. Oh, think about that. That would also be very interesting. Like, you go to sleep, you wake up, you have a little fuzzy thing sucking at your teat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, that's interesting.
Alright.
God didn't curse them with birth pains.
Yeah, really didn't. But yeah, there also are a lot bigger than us, and they like that was a huge thing with our evolution. Is
Yeah.
when we became bipedal, it really kind of messed with our ability to produce offspring
Hmm.
because of how everything rearranged as compared to four-legged animals.
It didn't help that our brains got bigger. So it
Yep.
takes that's part of the reason why infants take longer than baby kittens and that stuff to be able to do things on their own, because that big of a head has to go out of a tighter space
Yep.
because we're upright.
Yep. And our babies are basically what's a good word for it? Useless, I guess would be the only term because like they can't do anything for themselves for a very, very long time. And it's because if we allowed them to like be able to be as productive as like a horse that can walk right away, their heads wouldn't fit through the hip canal.
Stupid babies. Be more
Mhm.
useful.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
So
th
this next
yeah.
term actually is going to be very, very important for us.
Okay.
Okay, so it's Gi gigantothermy. It's a phenomenon that with significance in biology and paleontology, whereby large, bulky ectothermic animals are more easily able to maintain a constant temperature relatively relatively high body temperature than smaller animals by virtue of their small surface to volume ratio.
Hmm.
So basically, big animals produce lots of heat, so therefore they can be uh, false, I guess, endotherms in many aspects.
Oh.
A bigger animal has proportionally less of its body close to the outside environment than a smaller animal of otherwise similar shape. So it
Hmm.
gains heat from, or loses heat to the environment much more slowly.
Oh.
Uh, yeah, the
Because they're
phenomenon.
thick.
Yeah, yeah. The phenomenon is important to in the biology of ectothermic megafauna, such as large turtles and aquatic reptiles like the ichthyosaur and mesosaur. Gigantotherms also allow ectothermic. Wait, though almost always ectothermic. Okay, I can't read clearly. Generally have body temperature similar to an endotherm. Um, it has been suggested that large dinosaurs would have been gigantothermic, rendering them virtually homeothermic. Which, so yeah, if you ever watch like the old videos of the claymation dinosaurs, it's really interesting because they're always lumbering and slow and boom, boom, boom. They kind of talk about that at the beginning of Jurassic Park, and then in Jurassic Park, they're moving like real animals,
Yeah.
and that's why they can probably do that even if they are cold blooded because they produce so much heat that their bodies can be like, "Yep, I'm good. Let's keep going."
So those are um shoot, gigaxotherms.
Uh, Gigantothermic.
Oh,
Gigantotherm.
Yeah,
not Gygax.
yeah, no.
Gygax to D&D.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm a
Sorry.
gigaxotherm.
I was thinking Geiger actually when I was thinking about it.
An HR gigatherm?
Yeah, Giganta. Yeah.
Oh, we don't even want to know what a HR gigatherm would be.
Oh.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a vagina with two penises.
Ooh. Hooray.
Okay. Subsequently, gigantothermic endotherms would not have to eat as much as large endotherms that need to maintain a constant influx of food to meet energy demands. Although animal lions are much smaller than crocodiles, the lions must eat more often than crocodiles because of the higher metabolic output necessary to maintain the lion's heat and energy.
Mm,
Crocodiles need only lie in the sun to digest more quickly and synthesize ATP. So I was like, oh,
mm,
yeah. Yeah, we waste a lot of energy just existing because of our maintaining of our temperature. But, like everything, there's good things and bad things. And
yeah.
the good thing about it is that we can be more easily active as compared to like a crocodile, which they kind of do need to sunbathe more, and they also probably heat easily too. Uh, so du- 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 du. There's also another term because I was also wondering about like, well, what do we think dinosaurs really were? And this comes
Mm,
from livescience.com. Uh, Dinosaurs warm-blooded growth rates. So this is actually was actually really kind of cool when I was looking at it. So dinosaurs once thought to be cold-blooded kings of the Mesozoic era, but new research on their growth rate suggests the prehistoric beasts grew just as fast as mammals, indicating they were warm blooded creatures. However, not everyone agrees with the results, and some paleontologists suggest they fell in a middle ground. They were somehow like both. So they
mm,
dubbed the term mesotherms because, Mesozoic.
yeah.
Dinosaurs are considered reptiles, so scientists had assumed the beasts were cold blooded, like their kin, meaning they depended on the environment to regulate their body temperature. The sluggish metabolism of cold blooded dinosaurs would have forced it to lumber slowly across ancient scape. A warm blooded dinosaur, however, would have controlled its own body temperature and be been equipped with a quicker metabolism. Such
Mm,
a behemoth could have jaunted around its home. So yeah, like I was talking about earlier, where it's when you have all that energy that you can like have more readily available, like we do, we are able to react to things a little bit differently. Like, have you ever seen like somebody like basically walking up to a crocodile and then they kind of just jerk? It's because they're kind of storing all their energy for that quick action.
oh,
It's really kind of cool because it's snapping turtles. Snapping turtles
oh,
just sit at the bottom of lakes and stuff, dangle their little worm-looking tongue, waiting for
yep.
something to just like attack its tongue, and then they just snap. Just hence snapping
Oh,
turtle, and
yeah.
it just releases all that energy into the bite.
Wow.
In at point my I had a
Yeah.
herpetology class, and it was really neat because he had an alligator snapping turtle, and he like stick a pencil in his mouth, and yeah, just
Oof.
yeah.
That's that I know, dad and I have run into, one snapping turtle once that
Mhm,
was I don't know what it was trying to do, but it was somewhere close to the middle of the road,
mhm.
and
Oh, poor little guy.
oh, yeah, well well, my dad, weirdly enough, he is a good as far as environmental conservatism go, he's real good at it.
Mhm.
He grabbed it by the sides and just lifted it and got it to the other side of the road that it was trying to get to,
Yep.
and, like, the whole way, this thing just went from, like, pretty docile to just
Arr.
snapping like a mother,
Yeah,
all just the entire time until he was let down.
yeah. I haven't picked up a snapping turtle to help across the street, but I have
Yeah,
helped a turtle or two.
yeah,
And yeah, it's one of those things you really have to be careful where you put your hand
yeah,
for like turtles in general because some of them have really really long necks
yeah,
and it just like it comes out of almost nowhere and they can just bite you.
Well, I mean, it doesn't come out of nowhere.
It comes out from well, like, like, it's basically in their body,
Yeah.
and, like, how it's, like, kinda curled up, you
Yep.
just don't see it, and then it comes out, and it's like, "Rah!"
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I learned, which was actually really, really cool about, turtles was, soft-shelled turtles
Yeah.
are more aggressive.
Can't imagine why.
I don't know why, but
I
I
think they
just
have something to prove.
yeah, probably. But maybe it's because they don't have to lug around all that weight. I don't know. I would have to actually look into it. I just remember that. So,
Nice.
basically, after looking at, like, going through all that stuff, I was like, "Okay, so our wyvern probably would be if depending on what it is, more likely it would be either warm-blooded because, like, eventually if it's, like, from now, evolutionally
Mhm.
thinking, like, birds evolved to be warm-blooded, so they can be more active. So, they are either gonna be warm-blooded or they're gonna be, like, this mesothermic, uh, gigantothermic,
Yeah.
and, so because of that, I thought of something that was actually really kinda cool of explaining why they hoard and like to live under the ground a lot in, like, different fantasies.
Okay.
So, basically, like, if they're kind of can't control the regulate their body temperatures, there's a potential, but they are still really big and stuff like that. Maybe they do have a tendency to overheat or something like that. So you live underground to help yourself cool down during the hottest times of the day. And gold and silver and copper are really, really good conductors of energy. Like, the
Mhm.
best conductor of energy is silver, but and then copper, and then it's gold. So it's like, you know you know what a lot of people have in their fancy, um, like, hoards of money that they keep? Lots of gold and silver.
Gold.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's like, oh, if you make a like a giant bed of that, I'm pretty sure it would help you cool down a lot faster. And like if you and a lot of times with that is like because then I was thinking about like if it was a flame throwing dinosaur or not dinosaur
Mhm.
dragon, maybe that's why it and like they would hoard their gold, and then like oh wait, but would that be a learned behavior or would that be an instinctive thing? Because I'm like, how would that be instinctive as much? And I was like, maybe the fire breathing dragons could also be like smarter because that would be a learned behavior that they pass down. And because a lot of times with depending on the creature, you can have like the difference between being learned and instinctive. And of a lot of instinctive animals, they seem smart, but it's because they don't really think outside their own little box because why would you? You already have your
Yeah.
instincts telling you what to do. And but so they're really good right out the bat when they're born as compared to like us where we have to learn a lot of stuff. We're kind of useless for many, many years, but we are have more range in thought process. We can do more stuff and it's kind of neat.
Oh, no. Hey,
We can
Dean, what
build
does the Flight of Dragons tell us about all this?
Well, according to the science that they use that as bedding because it's the softest metal gold is.
which is I don't know if it is
It's
actually.
more comfortable for them because it's a softer metal.
Yeah. Duh, 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 duh,
Pushing up my glasses.
softest metal. Duh, 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 duh. Oh, cesium.
Cesium.
Cesium is rare and it's very, very, very soft. And I'm pretty sure like lithium and stuff like that is also way softer.
Lithium.
Probably
Back to
not.
focus.
Yeah, back to focus. Okay, but yeah. And then I was just, and then I'm like, we're talking about their metabolism, so eventually we'd have to talk about their diet, everything else. And basically, I'm just gonna go with they were definitely probably meat eaters because meat, like the thing about meat eater carnivores versus like herbivores is that carnivores have way more ready access to energy. Because think about a cow. What is a cow probably doing most of its day?
Chewing.
On.
Grass.
Yeah. It's it's constantly grazing, it always needs to eat. Like, you ever learn about, like, how much, grass and other wheat and a whole bunch of other stuff that and grain, that was the word, that, yeah, cows eat a day, and it's just like, "What? That's a large amount of
Oh, yeah.
stuff that they have to slowly digest because it turns out they also can't process any of that material because that's why they have all the 4 chambered stomachs.
Yep.
And it was like, oh, rip. And all of that stuff gets processed and turned into meat so that we can eat it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they were
So
definitely
so
they would be carnivores.
so what you're saying is I'm a vegetarian by proxy?
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Mm,
My,
Yeah.
my
protein.
yeah. My
But like
dad.
when we were talking about the different mechanism for extraordinary breath, maybe they could also be considered omnivores because they would have other things in their diet too,
Mhm.
like eating different grains and stuff like that that they would need.
Yeah.
Eating
So
limestone so that they can produce hydrogen.
yeah. This is also kind of cool because every so often you'll see it on the internet where people freak out about seeing a deer eat meat or cows. And it's like,
Wow.
well, yeah, it's because it's a ready form of energy. It's why would you not?
Oh,
You
that
know, deers don't have top teeth.
Uh, I think they just don't have sizers. They have top
yeah.
teeth.
It's weird. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Well,
And I've
cows,
seen
same thing with cows.
don't even no. You need to know this.
Thanks,
Hmm.
Infinity Train.
Oh Lord.
Oh, wait. Deer skull.
Nope, they just have the but yeah, like cows, I think they just have the
Oh, yeah.
inside.
They have incisors, but it's only on the front of their lower jaw,
Mhm.
and they don't have any incisors on the top of their
Nope.
upper jaw. But yeah, there's a gap like that. And yeah, I think it's the same thing with cows because I've seen it and it's weird, but a lot of people let cows suck on their arms,
Oh yeah.
and I was just like, "What
Might
are
raise
you?"
cows on the hobby farm.
"Well, no, they
Cows.
still are. Huh. Yep, they
Oh,
also have
they
teeth, but they just
yeah.
don't have their top teeth.
Yep.
They're top.
Pad.
Yeah.
Yep. They do. Great. Thanks for bringing that up now.
You're welcome.
See you in my nightmare.
That's what they sound like. That's a fact. That's canon.
I agree, and I believe in you. I believe
Speaking
your
of
words.
speaking of cannons, dragons
Yeah.
fart
Yeah.
cannons.
What?
They fart cannons?
Yeah, they're legendarily known for farting and making large booming sounds when they
Ah.
do.
I've never heard this.
Oh, it's a legendary thing. You know,
Um,
it's one of those casual stereotypes that I've
Made up
learned
right
over the
away.
years.
Yeah. But yeah, depending on the mechanism for how they produce their fire effect, I don't think that would ever really work to be farting fire because of like when we start like talking about it mixing in the air in front of them. It's like, yeah, I guess you could technically have it that it does definitely needs an aerobic environment to like combust. So like I guess like if they drink some of that and it mixes and it's like goes all the way through it, but I would think that it might have a mechanism to recollect that because that's important material that you don't want to
It can
waste.
help propel them,
Yeah.
No, it
like
can't.
Rocket Man.
Uh,
Oh,
the
jeez.
the how long do you fart?
Well, I mean, okay. Now, are we talking like on a good day or a bad day? And what do you define as a good day? I guess.
I get yeah, but no, that's what I'm saying. Like if you like a normal fart is just that's as long as you're gonna have any kind of propellant.
But that's a
Yeah.
dragon has a lot more room for making that in its gut.
I guess.
you're you're scaring the boy.
And
Dean,
they have
please. Dean, please. You're scaring the boy.
Ugh. Oh, and we probably also should
beak.
so, yeah, like I said, this is probably gonna be our last episode of, the Wyverns. Eventually, we're gonna also, talk about an actual dragon where it has 4 legs and, 2 wings. But I also kinda wanna get more I wanna eventually, if we get enough followers or enough listeners or whatever, that we can actually do interviews with actual doctor level scientists, not just
Yeah.
my stupid level scientist. Uh, so I'm like, we probably should should establish what our dragon kind of looks like
Mm,
verbally because eventually I will like to draw this, but this is one of those things like I don't have time for that.
yeah.
So
Well.
it's
Yeah.
going to be a lot more gangly than what we think of, like a lot more skinny because it's a lot of weight
So is this going to
to
be
fly
our?
around.
So this is going to be the for the essentially like 4 limb, 2 wing, like the whole 6 limb dragon, or are we trying to
No,
talk
this
like wyvern?
is for the
Uh,
wyvern. Yeah,
Okay,
this is the wyvern.
we're talking about
wyvern.
Yeah, our
where the front
wyvern.
paws are also its wings.
Yes.
Yes.
And, but yeah, it would be kinda have to be ganglier but it would look probably more substantial than the Quetzalcoatlsaura thingy
Yeah.
because
It
it's gonna have to be both more terrestrial. So, like, the giant pterosaur was probably looked very awkward on land. So, it'd probably have a little bit beefier arms because of that
Mm,
and better, dexterity in its
larger
swing
breastbone.
hands. No, you wouldn't have
yeah.
dexterity in a breastbone.
I
That's not.
wasn't saying you were saying
Oh,
larger arms, and then I
oh,
was saying a larger. I wasn't saying it had a prehensile breastbone.
sternum. The term is sternum. Also,
No,
no, I was saying
I
that they
want.
would have beefier arms for walking on land. The
I'm looking at
sternum
a
is for
wyvern with a
flying.
prehensile sternum right now.
Just say you were saying larger arms for that, and I
And
jumped
it,
on the word larger because it would have a larger chest.
yes, but it probably would have the same size chest as the giant pterosaur, maybe.
Okay.
And then our dragon would be probably more gangly than we would imagine it to be because you can't have something super bulky because how would it couldn't fly. And then p- like I said,
Yeah.
and like I was saying, the coolest thing about like it being like part of another branch of evolution is like you can have a wide range of things. So like you could still have a maybe a bigger one that but it would have to be even more skinny. And then you could have little ones that are like the size of birds, which would be kind of cool to see like a little bird that spurts out fire,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be kind of cool. Oh, I to circle back to the metabolism. This was also went with like if the dragons like slept on gold, like they might be smarter. So there's a theory about like when we started getting more developed brains is because we started cooking our food because
Yeah.
because then we have more. It's easier to get those nutrients and stuff from our food. So I was like, maybe then fire-breathing the dragons could be smarter, like you see in a lot of fantasy movies and fantasy books, even though you don't see them because they're books.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool, like a nice correlation, because we're technically smarter than apes, and they're our relatives. We didn't evolve from them; we evolved with them. Same thing with our different branches of Dracana.
Yeah. Oh.
Nice word. I was thinking like flora,
Yeah.
fauna, Dracana.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. And then you can still have so many different things in these because I think in a lot of different books and lores and stuff, they also have like the Quetzalcoatl kind of dragons, where it's like
Yeah.
they have the feathered serpent.
Yep.
So I was like, ooh, neat. Yeah. So like the basic framework of what I'm putting out there is kind of a skinny dragon
Okay.
that has things that can squirt something and is a meat eater. And that's the that's the extent. And then like you could probably make up anything variations that you want. You could have them super bright colored and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because that's a bit coolest thing is like you basically can mix and match. Same thing like when you like draw a dinosaur now, you can include feathers.
Mm.
And so I'm not
Yeah.
saying we're going to include feathers for this, but there'd just be a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh. No, that is cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's. I mean, especially now that we're learning more, especially about the idea of what dinosaurs may have looked like,
Mm.
and finding whole dinosaurs
Mhm.
nowadays. I know
Yeah.
that's meaning. I know that realistically, that's absolutely meaningless. Because,
Yes, sadly.
but
Just remember the rock fact. Dinosaurs had ears, but because they were made out of cartilage,
Oh
there's
yeah.
no ears on their skeletons.
oh,
Yep, if you
and
look
that
at, like, our ears, if you like, compared to
yeah,
just our skulls, you wouldn't know what that.
yeah,
So, like, it's actually really neat,
yeah,
because people always have that joke about like, how do we know what dinosaurs really look like when you like look at the skulls of animals now, blah blah blah. Like we if an alien looked and they saw this, they wouldn't think a what was it? Hippopotamus would look like what it does. And it
Yeah.
was like, yes, to a point, because we actually do have markers. Like you can actually see
Yeah.
connecting points on our skulls. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
you won't have a perfect idea of what someone can like look like, but you can have a very uh uh broad like a you're going to be in the same ballpark of what
Yeah.
someone's going to look like.
there is a guy who teaches an art class once every year where they get skulls from unidentified bodies and he
Mhm.
teaches them how to recognize those markers to develop a face and help try and find people who might know this unidentified body
Oh,
by
so
the
they get
skulls.
Mhm.
So they learn about the different markers on the face and then they know, okay, if this is here, the face usually has this, and then they're able to build up the muscles and develop the actual face of the person who passed.
Mhm.
that's cool. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, we're at our
We're
limit, or I'm at my limit because I got to go
I
bed.
but well, okay. So let's just for a wrap up for my own edification, what would you say would be the core principles that you would want in your wyvern?
Core principles is that they're going to be more skinny than you imagine. They're not going to be as big and bulky as like you would see in Game of Thrones or Dragonheart or anything else. Because and they probably are not going to have these giant plates of scales on them because that's just so heavy that you can't. They would not be able to fly, or they would have to need to eat so much that they could have so much energy that it also then defeats the purpose because they're even more heavy because they just ate a bunch of stuff. So yeah, like it's going to be a lot more skinny. Now but there are a lot of wiggle room where you can have different shapes and sizes of everything. Like you can probably have because lizards they range from a very different size as everything else. Now the only issue is I forgot to look it up. So like to explain like the dragons if or wyverns are of now if they actually existed they would also probably be a lot smaller than we'd think they would be because we simply don't have enough oxygen in our environment during the times of like the megafauna way more oxygen. So they were able to breathe and be giant and inefficient because they didn't need to care as much. But like now, we're not going to have, we don't, our the largest animal is a land animal is an elephant. And you compare an elephant to any kind of sauropod, they're tiny by comparison because they don't simply have enough fuel to fuel their rapid growth. And also there is some ideas that a lot of times your body's going to become more efficient or the evolution like things are going to be a little bit more efficient, not our bodies, yeah. So like you don't need big bodies to be able to function anymore.
Okay. So
This was actually kind of cool. This is going to be a little bit of tangent, sorry, but this is really neat.
why
Audio.
stop now?
Oh yeah, exactly. It was really kind of cool. I was looking at or I was watching a video on like the evolution of our intestines and our stomachs, so we can actually replicate our digestive system.
Hmm.
It takes up an entire room, and I don't mean like my little office 10 by 10. I mean like it's like a building kind of size room. I think it would be like my house,
Okay.
and it's the exact same stuff that our guts do.
Oh.
I was like, so yeah, our bodies probably like slowly or evolved into being a little bit more efficient in some aspects. But if something works, then it's not going to change all that much.
Okay.
The bullet
And
points are it's gonna be skinny. It's going to have like the bat wings probably,
yeah.
but and like that because that one's always weird. But because I never brought this up, there is a ratio between wing size and body size.
Okay.
But depending on what kind of flyer they are, they're gonna be have different ratios. So I'm not gonna say it's gonna be this one because no, it depends on
Wait.
which type you'd want. or you're
Mm,
going for. And then like, yeah, they would have different mechanisms for different types of extraordinary breath. And like I'm gonna go with the two little spurs on the sides of the mouths, or like
okay.
I don't know what the word would be. It wouldn't be spur, to spray out the two chemicals to
Yep.
then they mix in the air and they make a kind of like a fiery explosion, because that's the only one
Okay.
I yeah. And then wings, whoop,
Th-
flap,
Yep. Okay.
and they could still have a long tail.
Yeah.
And just like in How to Train a Dragon, I remember um Toothless, like they had a fan on its tail to help
Yep.
it fly, so it can still do that, like birds, because that's what their tail feathers are
Hmm.
for.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That works.
Okay.
I think that works really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Audience, I'm going to make an Instagram that,
Hmm.
like I said, I would love to post at least my ideas of what these things are going to look like. And then if you send pictures of that, I'll, like, tag you and stuff like that, and post your pictures, because that'd be kind of cool. And
Yeah.
also, we're going to have an email. Next time, we're going to be talking about Gorgons.
Jurgens. I love
Jurgens.
Jurgens.
Bye.
Bye.
Sorry to interrupt, but I need to let you know that we're going to be changing our release schedule. We are doing this to make it more manageable for us. We will be releasing episodes every other week. I would love to make a new episode once a week, but right now that's just not in the cards. Thank you for your understanding.
A Real Creature Feature is created by Matt Kuklinski, starring Matt Kuklinski, Michael Seaman, and Dean Snow. Any questions, comments, artwork, or general inquiries can be sent to realcreaturefeature@gmail.com. You can view any submitted fan art and pictures on our Instagram at A Real Creature Feature. Some episodes were recorded weeks in advance due to our current sporadic recording schedule. Any comments left will be seen and addressed at some point, and you will be credited unless you tell us you wish to remain anonymous. If you like the podcast, please leave a review on the podcast app that works best for you. It really helps us out. Also, tell your friends, enemies, and total strangers about the podcast. They might enjoy it too, and that can bring us all closer together.